Hayes, who is one of our Step Up volunteers and one of our network leaders. And Elaine has had a big involvement being part of the founding team of the network and actually co-hosted the launch event with me after recovering from COVID, and is a very committed member of our team. So Elaine, as well as that, is a secondary assistant principal for teaching and learning at a girls' secondary academy in Birmingham. And she is also one of the network leaders for Women Ed England, having been a supporter and volunteer for Women Ed for many years. So Elaine, welcome again, and thank you for joining us, especially as I know you've got a very special event going on tonight as well. And we're very privileged that you've joined us. So Elaine, your 8 minutes are over to you. Me and Amy will disappear, and enjoy. Oh, Elaine, you're on mute.
That always happens, especially since I'm known for my technical abilities. That always tends to happen, that I end up being on mute. Thank you, Ben, for that absolutely wonderful welcome. So as Ben said, I'm an assistant principal in a secondary school, and tonight we're actually out as a school celebrating our Ofsted result, which was a lot of hard work. But in terms of looking at the theme of tonight and women in leadership, and the theme of International Women's Day, which is inspiring inclusion, I want to talk a little bit about my journey, and then also how there's some key words that I think I've taken on in my leadership role that are really, really important, that people can benefit from. And the very first one is notice. So I think I didn't manage to watch Kemi's starting speech, but noticing. Do you notice the people that are not included? Do you notice the people who are at the periphery? Do you notice the ones that may not have that voice? There was an article recently about how do you engage staff who are seemingly quiet? Do you notice? I think that's the very, very first thing about looking at inclusion. And picking up on one of the points that I heard as well, doing unto others that wasn't done to us can also be a very, very important thing. Everybody's leadership journey is different. And I very much believe that leadership is not necessarily, it's a ladder. It's not a ladder to be climbed. It's more like a kind of a jungle gym. You need to go across. You can go sideways. You can go backwards. You can go forwards. For me, in my career, I skipped the traditional kind of route where you become a middle leader, head of faculty, and then into senior leadership. And that was due to something, again, that I had noticed. So during COVID, we didn't have anybody dealing with the education technology. And that's when I noticed, I spotted that gap. I brought other people along with me. And that is the important thing in terms of having that inclusion. It's ensuring that those that you lead are on the same page. I'm very much a believer in servant leadership. One of our values as across our school is service. So how do I serve those who are under me? How do I serve those who are above me? How do I serve our students? How do I help them notice to make sure that we do have a very, very inclusive group? What is it that I'm going to do? What is it that we are going to inspire? What change are we going to have to ensure that everybody's voice is heard? Because for the longest time, we talk about the gender pay gap. So the 23rd of November this year was Equal Pay Day. And from that date on, using the average figures from the gender pay gap, women weren't being paid for the rest of the calendar year. How do we change things like that? First of all, again, it's back to that word notice. If you don't notice it, if you don't challenge it and be brave to challenge it. So things like, for example, when people are recruiting, do you put the salary on there or do you not put the salary on there? There's a lot of schools now that are not putting the salary on there because people can say, oh, hang on, that doesn't sound, that's not where I am, or it can be off-putting to people. And it's noticing that talent, it's noticing those little things that make a big difference. I want to pick up on a point as well from Kemi about no seat at the table, bring a folding chair, which I absolutely love. I know I've said it before in a previous, I think it was our launch event. If there's no table there for you, go and build your own table. And something that we value as a network with Step Up is we're building that table for for people. So, Ben and all the founding team, we've noticed that gap. We've looked at, right, where can we inspire people to go on and take that next step, that sometimes very, very scary step, because leadership can be a lonely place. Leadership can be a place where you struggle and you feel that the water is not quite at the chin, it might be just here. How do you help and how do you ensure that you're the best person that you can be? So for me, it's also being about visible. So it's noticing, then it's being visible. Visible in action, visible in challenging, visible in everything that we do. So from a school level, it's being visible in the corridors, being visible around with staff, being open. That open door policy is something that for me is as head of teaching and learning, it's a massive thing, because we need to ensure that everybody can feel that their voice is being heard and that their voice is actually heard. Not just feel it, but actually is heard, that every voice matters. That visible leadership for me is really, really important. And as teaching and learning lead, it means that I'm in and out of the classrooms. I absolutely adore it. It's part of my job. I absolutely adore going in and seeing our staff, seeing those people and seeing how they inspire our students every single day. So inspiring inclusion, looking at that as a theme, it's going back to that noticing, going back to visibility, going back to challenging. So they're my three key words. And it does take an element of bravery to challenge the norm, challenge the things. It might be that things are actually going really, really well. And it might be a case that actually you need to challenge to improve, challenge to look and see how do we go to the next step, challenge the issues that are there in terms of making sure that everybody's included. So simple things like, if you're going to a staff party, like for example, take tonight, we have a lot of staff who wouldn't feel comfortable in certain areas. So we found a place that everybody can come to. So it's all those little decisions that add up across the school day, across the week, across the month, across the year. How do we inspire our students to do that? Again, it's that visibility. It's being that example. And the thing is with leadership, I'm privileged to be in the role that I am as a senior leader, but every single person is a leader of themselves. They can lead, they can challenge. You can challenge yourself, you can inspire, you can look at how can you be the best person that you possibly can be. So the three words that I'm going to finish up with: my notice, my visibility, and my challenge. Is there something in your school, something in your area, something in your faculty, something within your classroom that actually you haven't noticed? Have you taken time to notice? Have you taken time to visibly look and do something about it? Have you taken time to challenge? And they're my three things for tonight. So notice, visibility, and challenge.
Wow. Thank you, Elaine. That was amazing. I loved it. The notice, the visibility challenge. I want to come and work in your school. I want to come and work with you. That I loved it. I loved it. And the key thing you hit on there was being brave to challenge it. And I think the bravery and the courage, I think with women over time, over generations, and then you get generational patterning passed down, that you're female, you don't speak up. I think the courage and the bravery you hit on there is something that we all really, really need, because some of us challenge a bit more than others and some of us are quiet. But I think notice the quiet ones. And I suppose if you get chatting to them, they might actually come out with the answers that as leaders we need. So thank you so much for taking time out to come tonight. I loved it. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome.
Yes, thank you, Elaine. I think, like you said there, that challenge, I think Women Ed talk a lot about that being daring to disrupt, and actually that positive disruption that we all not just women, but men as well. And that's why I'm glad we've got Chris here as a he for she. But like you said, you really hit the nail on the head there. You've
I think it's
build that table.
It's also the language that's used, where a woman is somewhere assertive, she's seen as bossy. She's seen as, another word, I'm not going to use a swear word live, but though that language that we use, and especially when we're using that language, and in schools, our students are so perceptive. There's ears like everywhere. and being that visible example to, especially I work in an all girls school, so it's very, very important that we have that visible example.
Yeah, brilliant. Great role model there, Elaine, for the girls. Great role model. Thank you so much indeed.
Very welcome.
Thank you. And enjoy the rest of your evening, Elaine.